This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the podcast. I'm your host, Erica Lance. With me today is the wonderful Burning Down the House, which I really wish I could somehow play right now because that would be funny. Chelsea Rice is my co-host, and our amazing guest is Travis Richey. Woo! Woo!
Hey, hi, how are you?
Hi, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Thank you so much.
I have our Drinking with Authors swag, which you will get delivered to you after you do this podcast.
Wow.
And many people think, how do I get Drinking with Authors swag? You don't. You have to be on the podcast. Just kidding. No, find me at a convention. I'd like to give away shit. But I am drinking not the definition of gin and juice. It's literally grapefruit juice with gin in it. And I feel like an old lady. But there was a whole running behind schedule thing. And I was like, let's be creative. And then I was like, let's show up.
Throw any two things together.
Yes, with my gin and juice. We are not naming
awesome.
this. This was a terrible plan. Let's not do it again. CR, what are you drinking?
I'm trying to get the bile of the thought of gin out of my mouth. I am doing rum and Coke because it's just classic.
No, and it's rice kind of day I'm having. Okay, Travis, what are you drinking?
I am not much of a drinker, but I'm drinking a iced coffee, a cold brew coffee that I ground the beans and brewed myself. It is one of my favorite things. It gives me such joy. And I also am drinking Huel, which is a meal replacement thing, because I'm trying to, it's complicated, but it's not as bad as one would think.
Yes. No, that sounds hey, it's probably better than my gin and grapefruit juice. I really do feel like an old lady having brunch. That's what's happening.
You don't
it's
have
the grapefruit
like
that turned me off right there.
You don't have like regular vodka or like even
First
like
of all,
I
like
white
gin.
rum.
I know you don't like gin, but I like gin because it's a light drink, and I normally have soda waters and I have all these flavored tonics, and I was like standing because I'm running to. Because we were running late to start this, all my fault. And I'm running to get ready, and I'm like, I put the gin in, and then I open the fridge, and somehow the tonic water that's in a little bottle, all this stuff looked way too complex, and I grabbed the grapefruit juice. And listen,
tonic water looks way too complex.
Moments, okay, we don't have.
You know, I do you remember in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy how every civilization, just in a weird fluke, every civilization in the universe has a drink called gin and tonics, or pronounced gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And they're all different, but they're all pronounced the same. I thought that was really fascinating.
See, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Look how we brought that all the way around. Look at how
Look
that
at
just happened.
that.
That's the circle.
You guys, my whole life. Hitchhikers runs my life. My screensaver has been what?
Black.
Oh, you know what? The sleep is on. The sleep is on. So oh man, that was a horrible thing. I have do not disturb on so that we're not disturbed. But my screensaver is come on, turn on.
It's hating you right now.
There we go.
Oh, don't panic.
Yeah,
It's been Don't Panic since my Palm Pilot trio. I don't know.
Okay,
13 years ago.
I'm not gonna. The other day I was opening up. We moved, so every now and then I actually take a box and open it, and go, do I actually need the shit that's in this box? I'm generally not a hoarder, but every time I move, I decide, unless I'm like, oh my god, I need this, and we have to establish it. I'll go through the box and go, why the hell am I saving this shit? And there was my original jailbroke Razor phone. That originally was gold.
Like the original?
The razors were gold, and you had to jailbreak them. Yep. And I found it, and then I sent a picture.
I didn't know jailbreaking was a thing when the Razor was around.
What? Jailbreaking? Oh yeah, because it was, I forget, because it was like Sprint, AT&T, and Nextel.
Nextel was, because I get the fucking.
I was on the one that didn't have the Razor, so you had to have it jailbroken, not to do cool shit, but to be able to use it.
Just use it on another
SIM card, right? because you had to put a
Interesting.
SIM card in
Interesting.
it back then. You know,
Yep.
it was super fancy. Anyway, I pulled it out. I took a picture of it. I sent it to my daughter. She's 22, and she was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm like, "I'm not talking to you right now." It's because it has the little
I did
screen.
something.
Like you remember, you had to hit the button multiple
No.
times to text.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
T9 text. I
Yeah.
did something similar. I had this beautiful little phone. It was a Sanyo 6000 2G phone, not even 3G,
Ooh.
but it was about that big and about that thin, and you could put it in your pocket and not even feel it. And I loved it so much. It was just gorgeous. But it was just a phone you could have, in your pocket at the club and not worry about being so big. But yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
no,
I threw that. I
missed
had to throw that away.
The Razor was very anyway. I don't
Yeah,
know how we
same
got
thing.
off on that tangent. I gotta say, our sponsor today is Skunk Brothers Spirits. DWA10 is the coupon code. I have to remember before I put too much gin and juice in my mouth. Okay, Travis, for those that do not know you, what do you write?
So I have been a writer for a long time. Mostly, my first things I wrote were spec scripts for Star Trek Voyager when I did in high school. But then I quickly moved towards sketch comedy, which I found especially when I moved to LA. I'm an actor primarily, but I moved to LA some 19 years ago and landed at the Acme Comedy Theater where I learned how to do sketch. And so I have been doing sketch comedy mostly on YouTube. I have a pilot that I did that I wrote and produced. And so that's been my focus. I had a movie idea in 2009 for a gay vampire romance. And in 2000, I kind of just pecked away at it. I wrote one scene that I actually just randomly found. My computer just showed it to me when I was searching for something else. And I have one scene of dialogue, no names, just lines of dialogue, and not even a full scene, like just 30 seconds. Anyway, and so I didn't do much on that because I didn't really know how. But then around 2014 or so, it was a horrible year for me. Like my dog died, my boyfriend left on a cruise ship gig for like 9 months. My agent killed herself. And so it was a very bad year. And so
Wow.
I was a little depressed coming into the end of the year because my dog died at like the September 2nd, I think. And so I was like, I'm going to do all the things. And so one of the things that I was going to do was just vomit up this movie idea as a book. And I thought, even if I just puke it onto paper, it'll be better than Twilight, and Twilight got made into a movie. So why not? But then I had been lucky enough to meet Melinda Snodgrass and become friends with her at a convention because I was Inspector Spacetime on Community. And so as part of that convention experience, Melinda and I met each other and became friends. And Melinda was like, "Come over to my house. I'll help you break the plot." And I was like, I don't know what that means. So I went over there, and but together we broke the entire plot. And when I left, I had an outline for this book. And then I pecked away at it a little bit at a time over the next several years. And then in February of 2020, I moved to Japan for a job, an acting job, and got sent home early because of the pandemic. And I'm sitting in Nashville at a friend's place where just some friend let me stay there for free. And I said, I very much don't want to feel like I'm wasting my pandemic. So I used over NaNoWriMo 2020, I finished the novel, 60,000 words in 6 weeks. And it was good. And then Melinda liked it. And so she referred me to her publisher, and they liked it, and they decided to publish it. And so that's my big thing right now is my debut novel. It's called Decimus, the Vampire's Curse. It's a gay vampire thriller / love story.
That is awesome.
It's a good story. It's a long story, but it all ties together.
I think that's first of all, it's amazing that you did something with the pandemic. Well, going back, it's amazing you got out of Japan. We're going to start there because a lot of people got trapped in countries from the pandemic.
Yeah, well,
You know?
that unfortunately, the reason I got sent home from Japan was because it was so easy to get me out of the country because I'm an American and there were no travel restrictions. And so, without regard to the quality of my performance, I think this is just my own personal belief. I wasn't told this, but they sent home 5 Americans out of the cast because it was easiest to send us home.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, but I'm glad you did that. And I'm glad that you wrote this epic book, especially because I love the fact that it's hitting so many different genres. Because, you know, the normal mainline publishers, whatever we want to call them, the big five or whatever, don't pick up on books necessarily that hit multiple genres because they get into that. I don't know how to market. I'm sure you experience this in Hollywood and stuff like that too. Oh,
All
this
the
is
time.
brilliant. I don't know how to market it. Like,
Yeah.
if you go back with some of the greatest things in history, Princess Bride is one of my favorite. They had no fucking clue how to market that movie whatsoever. They did a terrible job of it actually when it first released. And yeah, no, that's really epic. Well, how does it feel to be a published author now?
It initially a weight was lifted off my my psyche because of I mean, this idea I've been carrying with me for 13 years. And so when I finally had it on paper and it was something that I actually liked, it was such a relief mainly. And the other thing that it did was to write something that was in the end something like 70,000 words, suddenly made all my other writing seem way more achievable, because a screenplay is maybe 12,000, 15,000 words, and or maybe not a screenplay, but a pilot, an hour-long pilot, which is what I'm trying to do. And so all that seemed way more achievable, and yeah, so that was a relief.
That's really cool. So I've actually written plays, like plays and screenplays. Play is not the technical definition of that, but it's a different kind of writing than a screenplay.
Stage play.
And I've done that. And apparently Chelsea's dog is also going to do this episode with us, which is awesome.
Oh, sweet baby.
This is Tier.
Yes, always. Finally, he's like, I've got my debut. He normally comes up and bothers her when we're recording, but this time, yeah, that's screen time. But I have to ask you, because I went the other direction. I went story writing, novel writing, play writing, screenplay writing, right? Or helping people tweak their screenplays and stuff like that, because some people seem to be very great at like the action parts and terrible with the dialogue, and some people are okay with the dialogue. And anyway, we can go down that.
Oh, that's a whole nother story when we get into that.
Yeah. So what was it like for you though to sit down? I mean, having Melinda Snodgrass is amazing because she also has done what you've done, because we've had her on the show. I love Melinda. She's brilliant.
Yep.
And she's done the TV, movie, that sort of thing, and also regular novel writing, right?
Yeah.
And what was that like for you though to transition? Because I know from talking to a producer, this is a very long question, I promise, but I'm building up to it. Talking to some producers have told me that the stuff that they like written are from people who are novel writers and stuff like that, because they tend to do world building versus some script writers just like one and done. This is it. It doesn't have a this and a that and a this and a that goes with it. It's just this thing. So tell us anyway. There's my long-winded question.
That was
back to
a great question, and that was a huge challenge that I had, because initially, when I was younger, I wrote a lot of prose and stories in high school and college. But as soon as I started doing sketch comedy, my whole focus turned to dialogue. And so when you're writing sketch, it's just you have maybe a sentence of setup in the beginning, and maybe something along the way of stage direction, but mainly it's just dialogue. And so when I started the book, I found that I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to write a complete scene. I didn't know the omniscient kind of point of view of being able to write a character's senses, and their thoughts. And so what I started doing, and especially for the first chapter, well, not the teaser chapter, but the first actual chapter, I found myself just writing the dialogue. I did 2 passes at the chapter. I wrote the dialogue, and then I went back and said, okay, what are they seeing, smelling, tasting, thinking, whatever. And it was then as I continued to go and kind of practice that muscle, it got easier. And then by the time I was, a couple chapters in, it was easy enough to do that. But that was a big challenge for sure. And that transition. Oh, also screenplays, everything is in present tense.
Oh, the tenses that come to haunt you. Yes. Oh.
Yes. And then transitioning to a book where everything is in past tense is crazy. And right now I'm experiencing that big time because we wrote a screenplay for the Inspector Spacetime movie, and I'm adapting the screenplay now into a novel. Since I have a publisher and he does nerdy stuff, I'm like, oh, great, let's do that as a novel and maybe it'll raise awareness for the movie. Then the movie will be based on existing IP, even though it kind of already is with the web series. But, having the book out there can only help. And but I'm referencing the screenplay.
For nerdy shit. For the record, Canon is absolutely brilliant for nerdy shit. So
yeah.
The more you can write, the more you can do, and even open the world to have other people write Inspector Spacetime novels.
I would love to. One of the things I wanted to do was a radio show where, since it's easier to do radio than one of the reasons I haven't made more Inspector stuff is that it is a much higher production value than anything else I do, like any sketches. And so it costs money and I don't have money, but you can do a radio show for virtually free. So I was thinking of engaging the fandom to write radio scripts that we could do, and I would be able to perform with cast. And
I don't know why you're not crowdsourcing this. There are so many fans of that. I'm a huge fan of the Inspector Spacetime. That was one of those brilliant parts of Community. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you should. We'll have to talk separately because there are ways. I
am open to it. It's to me, I love, there's a lot of interoperability with the fans with that character. Like I call it a recursive creativity because I draw on the creativity of fans that draw on my creativity and vice versa. And so I think I would be absolutely open to doing something like that.
Yeah, no, we'll talk after this podcast about some ideas. I like seeing things like this come to fruition. That's what I'm about. I'm like the fairy godmother of the novel world. Okay, that would be cool. I should get a dress and a wand. No,
I was gonna say, are we gonna do a photo shoot? We'll do a fun new entry into Drinking with Authors.
Yes, I think that would
love it. All right, I'm coming to North Carolina.
You come to North Carolina. We're doing
Florida. The shit's too hot anyways.
Mother or something. I don't know. It's like going on in a life of its own. Okay, so Travis, you put this book out. What is next, though, in that particular series, or was it a one and done?
No. So
13 years sounds like there's a lot that could be thought of.
Yeah. So I'm very adaptable with my stuff. Like I am not one of those people who has one idea and that's the only idea, and I have to own that. My mantra is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And for that reason, if you go back on my YouTube channel, you can see the stuff that I did early on and how over time I got better and better. And the same goes with writing. Like I did put a lot of thought into this book, and I knew very well what the story was. But I knew also that it was going to end at the beginning of a new thing, so it's essentially a love story, right? And it's no secret to say to guess that the couple comes together at the end, but that's the beginning of a relationship. And so what happens next? Anyway, and as soon as I had a publisher, as soon as I got with Alexi, his first question was, so can you do this as a series? And I was like, well, yes, I can. How many books would you like? And he said, well, 4 seems to be the magic number. Actually, it was Melinda that told me that. And so I got to thinking about a 4-book series, and
6.
I've already mapped that up. Oh, well.
It's 6. Start thinking of
And
I've currently
stop
got
at
4.
6. Hard stop at 6. Just
That's hard
Oh,
enough,
okay.
but I would think with
No, it's
6.
not.
6 is like the, I know Melinda said that, but I'll tell you, trust me, I'm a publisher also. Many number things. It's 6.
Okay.
6 is
All right. Oof.
spot. So
All right.
even if it's 2 novellas, because what you might want to do is just throw a couple novellas through there on side characters that maybe don't continue
Interesting.
forward with, or do continue, but are not needing a spotlight, right?
Sure.
But they're the, cool side, plucky comic relief, or in the case of CR, the evil bastard that everybody gets mad about when she writes a side book about how.
and then they love him.
Yes.
No, he's
So-
a hero.
Yeah.
But anyway, throwing that out, I think that's great. So when are you planning on book 2?
So the plan is to, or was, to finish the Inspector book in the spring, and then I wanted to do 2 pilots over the summer, and then come back to Decimus for the second book in the fall and winter, and have it done probably by February.
Are you you're not
this
gonna do
plan
the nano
has.
again?
I might if I can be ready for it. My plan has had some hitches. I have spent much of the last year injured, and so a lot of recovery time. I was in a car accident about a year ago when I first moved back to LA. Like the week I moved back, I was rear-ended, and I was hit so hard that I ended up having 7 months of physical therapy.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then I had about 2 months of time, where I started getting back into shape after that was all done, and then crashed my bike and broke 2 ribs back in March. And so I'm
we need to
just
put a
now
stay
getting
off
level
back.
motor vehicles.
protection.
Let's just stay off motor
No.
vehicles.
Well, I'm usually not. Well, that was a bike and a bicycle, not a motorbike. But I'm not usually prone to that major of an injury. Although the car accident followed me breaking my wrist in Nashville, not falling out of a
Good,
tree,
you got
but
3.
climbing down
3
from a
is the
tree.
magic number with these things normally. You should be done.
I think I'm done. So I'm just a little behind schedule right now. I've got maybe 3/4 of the Inspector book done, and so maybe another month on that, and then I'll be. So I'm not too far behind.
That's very cool, though. That's awesome. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
You know what the best part of that is? That's got cosplay written all over it. Have you thought about that with your characters and stuff as you're writing? Because you're writing into different. It's funny because this is a question I could ask CR too. And of course, I just thought of this due to the content of the gin in my drink. But you're going to be impressed. Ready for the CR?
I'm ready.
I'm wondering. I was thinking about this the other day, was writing characters and writing them in wardrobes that go for cosplay. Meaning, if you write them in something so ridiculous, not that people can't make it, or so vague that it's like, there was a character, Anita Blake, and she wears a black leather jacket. Like, there's no way you can dress up as Anita Blake, really, and have somebody go, oh, that's Anita Blake. You'd need the characters to dress up around her as Jean-Claude and all these people, and then you go, oh, that's Anita Blake, and that's like you'd have to have an entourage, and they'd have to be with you to stand in the Anita Blake outfit, which is a vampire character, to pull it off.
That's one of the weird things that you have, because I was talking to somebody that was talking about turning one of my series into a comic, and that was one of the things they said is when you want to adapt those things, you need something signature. So mine are the same shit I wear. I wear graphic tees, jeans, and Converse. That is my outfit, or Vans, depending on how crazy I'm feeling. And then, so it's kind of that's anybody, but you need that signature piece. You need something that's just makes them stand out. And it's really hard to do that, because when you're writing a book, it's not like on TV where you're okay, let's set them up with an outfit. This is what it is. You don't want to spend a page and a half describing an outfit in a book, because
no, but you have to have a signature, because You take Hitchhiker's
It's
Guide to
hard.
the Galaxy. I can show up in any convention in a bathrobe with a towel around my neck and just have a thing in my pocket that says "Don't panic," and everybody knows who the hell I am.
But I could wear
That has been my Halloween costume at least 3-4 years.
Absolutely. Like that is definitely one of those things. Like I have a character that is his thing. He has the fucking trench coat thing. And like you can show up in a trench coat and with the series, like you could just be like, okay, cool. But like Erica said, you need that signature thing, that ridiculous thing, like a fucking bathrobe. Like
I'm just
saying, something that defines them.
You're 3/4 of the way through the book. You may want to consider this as part of it from a drunk person interviewing you on a podcast. This may be like a revelation.
Well,
Erica,
I mean, the inspector has a look.
No, the inspector does. I'm just saying the side characters that go with the inspector.
Piper has a look. Boyish has a look. I mean, if you haven't seen the web series, see the web series because
I'll see the web series.
all that's developed.
But as you go into the vampire series more.
There's an interesting one. So I don't yet have, it is interesting because I have a specific wardrobe for the characters. Like I have described what they're wearing and I've actually researched like, what would this character wear and that kind of thing. But none of it is terribly distinctive. They're all pretty
add
normal.
Their flair.
Yeah, they need.
You can add your own personal flair. It's like having like school uniforms and stuff. You know how like let's say you have a pin, like you said you were all about Hitchhiker's Guide. Like let's say your uniform was head to toe navy, and like you just had that bright like don't panic pin. Like you can just personalize it in your own way to make it stand out just a little bit.
Travis, I want to dress up as one of these characters. I'm gonna need you to do something. I have my Gaston and my Lestat costume in the closet. Gonna need to dress up.
There is a interesting, there is a female character who's really badass. She's a killer, man.
Yeah, I dress up as male or female. I said Gaston, I'm not kidding. And Lestat.
Oh, sure.
No, you did not.
I have so many pictures.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I like just the characters that are cool. So yeah, no, me and my my very good friend Brandy, she dresses up as Louie, and then we talked her daughter into dressing up as Claudia. It was pretty badass.
I like it.
But yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, you can do that. No, that's cool. Okay, we have to take a quick break. We will be right back with Drinking with Authors.
Sample locally sourced, quality distilled spirits in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge. At Skunk Brothers Distillery, we're family owned, brewing small batch grain to bottle spirits, just like our grandfather did back in the Prohibition era. From handcrafted bourbons and moonshine to flavored blends and cordials infused with local fruit. Join us for a tasting tour and buy Skunk Brothers Spirits straight from the source.
It's all in the family at Skunk Brothers Spirits, located in Stevenson, Washington.
Okay, we're back. So let's talk. So you wrote prose. What made you decide to do writing and acting? What made you decide to go that route?
I don't feel like it was much of a choice. I just felt very early on in my life that it's what I had to do. I was born with Bell's palsy, which is a paralysis of one side of my face. And it's why I'm very expressive over here, and also why I like this side, and why I know my angles. But I was teased mercilessly as a child because kids are just tiny little assholes. And as a defense mechanism, I turned to comedy. I was about 10 years old. My mom invited me into her room one Saturday night to watch the Church Lady sketch on the TV. And from then on, she would let me stay up and watch Saturday Night Live, and I would take those characters to school with me the next week and perform them for my friends. And this was the late 80s, early 90s era with the Dana Carvey and Mike Myers and all these
Will
great
Ferrell.
like pre-Will Ferrell.
Well,
I'm talking about
Will Ferrell. It had God.
Who was
but anyway,
who was
yes.
I'm just a caveman. Your modern world confuses and frightens me.
Yeah, John Lovitz.
No, John Lovitz. John Lovitz was gay B.
Yeah.
I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? No, I'm thinking what he was on news radio. Phil Hartman. brilliant.
Yeah, the girl that played It's Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's that
Julia
whole time
Sweeney.
period. And Stuart Smalley.
Stuart Smalley, yep. That all those, Hans and Franz. I had my first celebrity meeting in LA when I moved here was I met Kevin Nealon. And we were working, I was working out at the Gold's Gym in North Hollywood, and I saw him, and it took me like maybe 20 minutes to build up the nerve to go talk to him. And finally I went over and I said, hi, I just had to say hello and say that you are such an inspiration to me. And he goes, oh, great. In fitness or in comedy? And it was like, I died. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so yes, that was formative for me. So to answer your question, I didn't have a great childhood. And so acting was a way for me to become someone else. And I think writing, my mom is a storyteller. She's a fantastic writer. And my whole family on her side of my mom had 15 brothers and sisters. My grandpa was a Lutheran minister, and like we would all get together and have just this enormous family and tell stories, like family stories. And so I think that storytelling like itch got into me early on. And so I also was writing from an earlier stage. The acting felt like the thing I needed to do. Like that's the thing that really grabbed me. Being on stage and being a character who wasn't Travis was intoxicating to me. And so that's what hooked me. But I remember when I found out that Star Trek accepted spec scripts, this is back in the 90s when I was in high school, I wrote 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager. Like I got a script from them to like look at their formatting and all that. And I think I hand formatted the whole thing in Word. And so I started writing then, and I just never stopped. And then of course, when I got to LA, when the barrier for entry for production came down, I started, actually before even that, when I was in college in Minnesota, they had no film program, but I wrote and filmed a short film that ended up being 45 minutes long, but it was
it's shorter than a
I
normal
didn't
film.
know. It is. Thank you. Yes. And it is but it's a parody, it's a horror movie parody called Footwear about killer shoes. And it's not as bad as it should have been. And so when I got to LA, it never occurred to me not to keep writing. And if I want to make the things I'm writing, other people aren't going to make them for me. So I also became a producer because I had to produce them. So I started making content, whatever I could make as early as I could, whether it was using friends' stuff or whether it was a podcast. Like I started doing podcasts in 2006 before anybody knew what a podcast was. And so but that was what I could do. I could record audio. And so, that's why I've been writing. I have stories I want to tell, and that's how you tell them, right?
No,
Do you wanna
totally.
do
That's
different
exactly how
genres?
you tell them. And for the record, there was a college, I ended up doing movies for people in Florida. I was actually born in Minnesota, so that is funny.
Oh,
Actually.
nice. Yeah, that's where I went to college in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, no, anyway, that's where I was born. But in Florida, I did helped some people. This is how I got into the script thing, is I started helping college students that were recording stuff for their film stuff and things like that.
Uh-huh.
There's a movie out there called With a Dull Knife, and I hope no one can ever find it because it,
Did you say with a dull knife?
no, I didn't
Just
say that
to
at
make
all.
sure
No,
nobody
no,
finds
no,
it?
No, that's not what I said. Different words, sounds.
I got you.
Anyway.
Stay
yeah.
tuned, YouTube.
So that was as bad as you can imagine that it would have been. So I love horror movies.
Many
though.
college things are.
Yeah. No, what's interesting though is a lot of college things have, if you take away expecting big special effects and stuff like that, I think a lot of college stuff has some pretty revolutionary ideas just not the experience and the teeth necessarily to go take this idea to make it this cool thing. Because the idea of a movie with killer shoes, there's a movie with a killer vagina called Teeth. Killer shoes.
I know.
Oh my God. Do you want to talk
sketch.
about something that shaped I remember when that came out, I was in like high school. I think it was like my freshman year in high school. The bus that morning lost their shit. It was like, you will never believe, because of course you have these freaking 12, 13-year-old boys that are like, oh, we like girls. We definitely had sex. And they believe that girls had teeth in their vaginas, which was amazing for the first 3 months until they actually like watched porn and stuff and figured out that they didn't. But it made my life exciting.
There is I did a sketch about teeth at Acme, and it's filmed. It's on my YouTube channel. It's just called Teeth. And it's about a guy who saw teeth and comes and tells his coworker about it. The simplest idea. But here's the thing: when I was in Minnesota, I had the idea for a short that I never filmed. But the idea was this guy named Jesse walks through the park and he sees this person sitting against like a tree, and he goes up to see if he's okay, and he's not. He's dead. It's just a dead body. But Jesse doesn't see him as a dead body. Jesse and the body become friends. And
like, are you
and
talking
so,
like Breakfast at Bernie, or what is it? Weekend
at
Bernie's?
No. Jesse sees the body as a living thing, as a living person. And so they play Monopoly together and they get into fights and they become lovers. And so and then 20 years later, Daniel Radcliffe makes Swiss Army Man, which is essentially that idea.
I'm
now
sorry,
they did
so
it
you
way
mean
better.
to tell me that this man takes a dead body to his home and
he brings it
becomes
home.
intimate with him? Okay.
Yep.
And he never at any point in time is concerned about why he's having to carry this person? Or does he not?
No.
No, I think in his delusion, he doesn't see it that way. Like,
exactly.
some of the best well-written things like that are written in a way. It's
so
kind
it's like a dissociative event.
That's exactly what it is. He's essentially
actually there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, he develops multiple personalities. It's just one of the personality. He can talk to the other personality who is inhabiting this body, who he projects a personality onto.
Very interesting.
And I loved that idea, and I held that, like, it was one of those, like, kind of like Decimus, where I just held it inside for years. And then and I was like, when Swiss Army Man came out, I was like, oh, that's my idea. And now I've become delighted because I was never going to make it, but
no, but that
I thought it was
sounds
so
like a
fascinating.
fun character.
Are you telling me there's a movie out there where
have you not heard of Swiss Army Man?
No.
Daniel Radcliffe is the dead guy.
Okay, so Harry Potter goes and he decides, you know what, fuck it, wizarding wasn't for me. Voldemort finally got his ass, came back a fifth time, and so now he's dead. And Weasley is basically wandering around with his dead body, is essentially the movie.
Well, probably with a better script and better acting, but yes.
Yeah, and I think Paul Dano is the other guy. And so Paul Dano is trapped on a desert island or something, and he finds his body. But the body, he sees the body as alive, and they become friends. And the body does. It's from the people. Did you guys see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Oh yeah.
I don't watch a lot of TV, so I am terrible for these questions.
You should start writing these down. Write them down.
Yeah, it's a movie. So stressful. It's a movie, and it's the best picture of the year. It's going to win the Oscar. I guarantee it.
No, because I always choose movies nobody's ever heard of for those.
Well, you haven't heard of it.
Yes.
Exactly. And which means it's going to win.
And Mate.
I was going to say
it's amazing.
It's
an incredible movie, and you should see it. But it is. It's those directors did Swiss Army Man. That's the connection.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up. I will say I will contact you if this traumatizes me, because I like to make events out of things.
It will absolutely traumatize you in the best way possible.
Yeah, you say that.
We'll come back because I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna make my husband watch it, which he hates it when it's my night to choose movies because I always choose Just Friends. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie. That is like my.
Which one?
If I feel sick, It's called Just Friends. It's one of Ryan Reynolds' like first ones. It is so ridiculously stupid. I have seen that thing 1,000 times. I know every word. I watch it when I'm sick, when I'm angry, when I'm just like, screw it, I'm staying in bed. It's one of the first ones that I watch. So that's always what I choose on my movie nights.
I'm going to offer you a rare guarantee right now. And I'm comfortable making this promise to you. I guarantee that both you and your husband will love this movie.
Travis, that's a hefty deal because you don't know my husband, and Erica does.
I don't even know him.
That's okay. It's recorded. It is embedded.
I have proof.
This is a matter of public record now.
Yes.
Please
so
do. I'm very curious.
Yeah, so you'll hear. She has your email address. It will happen.
I do.
So let's talk about your book release. What was it like? Have you done any in-person events with it yet?
No. It has been anticlimactic. I don't know. I have always been the guy who makes a thing, and I don't know how to market the thing, right? And so that's why it was very well. I mean, I don't know. And so we've talked a little bit about strategy very recently. Like we had a phone call with someone who a fan wanted to be involved in stuff I did, and she had experience with like some marketing, and she wanted to do something more Inspector Spacetime-y, but I was like, well, I don't have that, but I have this if you want to help. So we had a phone call. But as far as like when I've done web series that have gotten attention, like Inspector Spacetime, I didn't do much to get the word out. Like the fans just were there and ready for it. So it's kind of the same with this. I wrote this thing and I didn't know what to do with it. Luckily, I had a friend who had a publisher, and Alexi's business model, as I understand it, is much more like new media type. You know, it's focused on digital and print on demand, but most of their effort goes toward marketing. I don't know. I really don't have enough experience to speak to what they're doing, and I don't really. I haven't done much yet. I haven't been involved with much.
I will say, Travis, one of the things you want to do on this is it's a degree of branding, right? Like creating the brand around you, which I know you've already done a lot of that. You're an actor, you've done, this stuff, but it's creating, Travis Richey, the author, the writer, the fiction writer, and creating that branding and starting to get that kind of message out. And that's a huge part of that, to communicate out about that. And I mean, we'll talk off podcast, I almost said offline. God, that was going to right. Well, we're
talking about feeling old.
Offline.
We're going to go offline. Someone's going to pick up the phone in a moment.
Conversation, but no, we'll have an offline because there's a lot you can do marketing wise. But the first and foremost thing is you're a brand, and you have to treat everything as if you're a brand, right? Have you had reviews yet on it?
Yeah, actually, the Amazon page has, I think, 8 or 9 really solid reviews. Only a couple of whom are from people I know, so I'm really pleased about that.
That's very cool.
But even one of the ones from someone I know is from a TV writer friend of mine named David Garber, who wrote some of the like stuff that we loved as kids. He wrote on Love Boat. He wrote on, I think, Fall Guy. He wrote on like he wrote on Jerry O'Connell's My Secret Identity. He wrote on like stuff like that. And so he wrote the best written review of anything I've ever done. And it's beautiful. So he had wonderful things to say about the book.
That's very cool. Are you going to do the audiobook for it?
Yes. That's awesome. The plan. So I'm actually testing a studio maybe Friday. I have to check on that, but I might be going to test a studio to see what their audio quality is versus what their cost is.
That's very cool. I think it actually would be exciting when you do in-person events. I think
I do too.
Interacting with fans and having fans walk up to you and have that. I know you've already had, with Inspector Spacetime, that's going to be a different kind of fandom interaction. And I think it'll
Yeah.
be, when that novel comes out, you'll have to come back on the show a little bit after that, because I'll be interested to see the dynamic of discussing these. You know, you have this thing that it's a thing already, right? Putting a book out about this thing, as the dog attacks again, versus this other.
Did you
sort
see
of
that? I
passion-
didn't do anything.
That other, you know, the passion project, which is this first novel in the series of novels. It's going to be interesting to see the fan interaction in person for you at the kind of conventions and stuff like that, having that, because I think it's, you know, it's different. And then you're going to have the fans of you as an actor and a previous writer, you know, you get the
And I'm hoping, like, what I have going for me is some of the acting stuff, like, you know, the Community, and I did a recurring on Pretty Little Liars, and so I'm hoping that I can take some of that fandom and bring them with me into this, you know, journey of my writing.
Well, you absolutely can, and that's what I was talking about, branding and talking about the writing and stuff like that. And I don't know if you're doing that effectively on your socials, and I'm going to say effectively versus talking about it, and we can talk about that again when we talk again.
Sure.
But there's a way, because you should be, I don't want to say taking advantage of that, but you already have that. You have built-in fans who are ready for that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I don't know if I'm doing it as effectively as I could.
Yes. Well,
so
I will
I'm continuing
assist
to
you
learn
a little bit if you would like, because
please, yes.
It's a learning process. No matter how long you've been doing it, they always have these different tricks and things like that. So like it's a constant learning process. But it's
always learning, and I love
to
that.
have those tools.
Yes.
And what's going to be really
agree.
fun again is when you have that fan that comes up and just loves that book, and it's meant something to them and it's changed something for them.
Yeah.
That's that moment you're going to be like, fuck yeah, I'm a writer.
That was the first review, actually, was on Amazon. This person I don't know how she found it or how she read it or whatever, but it was such a touching review. And first she wrote to me on Facebook, and it went into my Facebook spam, filter or whatever. And but I looked at it, and it was just a super touching thing. And then she posted her thoughts on Amazon too, which it is very gratifying. And especially when I had gotten a bad review from my stepmother, who has traditionally been fairly supportive of my career, but wrote something really mean and hateful on my public Facebook post about the book. And so it hurt a lot. And so then, like, the next day, this stranger told me what she thought, and it was so lovely. And so it helped.
Did you have a wicked
out.
stepmother? That is amazing.
I was about to say,
what's funny is she has always called herself
like
my wicked old. She's always referred to herself jokingly as my wicked old step chick, and I guess it wasn't until now that she finally, kind of like embodied that.
I started rewatching Once Upon a Time here recently.
Oh my God, it's great. Stop at season 5.
Yeah. It's kind of like I went all the way through Supernatural. We had this conversation. I finally went through 15. It was fine. I made it all the way through. It was cool. It was fine. It was a little hazy at the beginning. Writing got better.
I heard Supernatural stayed pretty solid through the run.
It was so stupid. I don't care who you are. I love Supernatural. Okay, absolutely love it. If you stop and actually look at the storyline, it is stupid. Like, it is, but it was so entertaining because you got addicted to those characters, and it was like family. So like it was.
They're coming back for a season 16. They're pushing hard.
Yeah, they just signed. Thank you. They just signed.
Really? Yeah.
But if you stop and you look, it's because it's legitimately about family and how stupid family. Not saying families are stupid, just like those interactions you have with your family members where you're just like, nobody would ever freaking believe this. Like, they did a show like that, and it's good, but like, it's just people got so addicted to what it stood for.
What's interesting is more and more, I don't know, going down this writing path, you can tell when the writers have not quite done the brilliant job. You can tell when it's the director, but you can tell when you're like, who wrote this? Like,
Right. They were
who's
drunk and hungover when they had to like turn in a script or something, and they're like, shit, shouldn't have gone out last night.
But, and that the major productions, they don't have that, but it's so interesting because I think a lot of people don't realize on most series, especially long running series, it's not always the same writers all the time. They go through quite a few writers,
Right.
And also you can tell when new directors or producers come into the scene, or they've gone up or down in echelon and ratings, whatever. But I think that with Supernatural, I legitimately feel like those boys miss each other and miss working with each other
it was
regularly.
15 years. Every day, 15 years.
I
And
know,
to just
but
bail,
who
like,
was
it's
it that started the whole, we should go back for, because it started with the fact that they're making the Winchesters. I can't believe we're on
yeah,
this
it was
tangent right
Jared Padalecki. He got all butthurt because like Jensen didn't tell him that he was helping with whatever, but Jensen didn't tell him because he's like, hey, it's my little brother.
now. Well, he also
actually
didn't tell him
it's
because
like,
it's a thing in Hollywood sometimes.
Right.
It's a jinx that if you talk about a project, you could have the project not come to fruition. It's the Ouija stuff. It's the voodoo that goes along with it. Anyway, sidetracked. We just got sidetracked.
again.
So let's talk a little bit about your writing environment with a shiny object. We get very shiny. There's some gin and juice. Let's talk about your writing
I was getting
environment.
sidetracked. I was yes-anding. You're getting sidetracked. That's
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
There's
very
nothing
much.
in my room.
So what is your writing environment like? Can you write anywhere? Can you be like, it's fucking noisy as hell, I can write here?
Generally, so when I was in Nashville, okay, so while I was in Japan, interestingly, I had just figured out my schedule because we were rehearsing, and then the park shut down from the pandemic, then the park went back up, and then we were doing shows, and I had a regular schedule, and I just figured out where in my schedule I could write an hour a day when we were sent home. Like I'd done 2 weeks of that and then I was sent home. So in Nashville, I had my computer set up on my roommate's kitchen island, and that was my office. That's where I wrote the rest of the book. And so he would be watching TV behind me in the living room, and I would be, writing with my headphones on. And I had discovered that I had to play a YouTube video of a coffee shop, just coffee shop audio in the background in my head.
First one that said that. We had somebody else say that, where they went onto YouTube and they just Googled coffee shop.
Yep.
And they put it in their headphones.
And so it's great. It's nice, and it's been proven to be stimulating for creativity. The kind of the white noise is stimulated.
What is it, like useless chatter and clanging of coffee cups? Like I've never looked it up. Like I have my own crazy process, but there's been a couple people that do it.
I think it's that indistinct jazziness of sound, right? And so it's not any one thing that you're listening to. It's just kind of this constant like stimulus causes your brain to focus, I think. And so what I do now is I work, like I mentioned, I work on a TV show. I work from the morning, and I usually finish up. I'll go for a hike, and then I'll go to Starbucks and actually sit in a coffee shop and write for a couple hours. And so I love that. I can write at home. That's fine. But I find it so easy to get distracted at home by all the things I have at home. And so I really enjoy working at a coffee shop. I like being around other creative people who are working, and I see this guy over here writing, and I'm like, oh, well, I want to write. I don't want him to write more than I'm writing. And so there's a competitive nature to it.
Travis is starting competitions with people who don't even realize it yet.
Exactly.
See,
I'm very competitive.
I would end up tweaking out the writers around me because, like, of course I do my headphones and stuff, but like I also have papers and stuff scattered, and I tap. So like I would have the author or like the writers around me just like twitching and like freaking out. Maybe I should go to
no one's that close. Luckily, I have a big Starbucks near me that has a nice big dining room, and it has a patio outside. And so everyone has a decent amount of space. which is, I think, important, especially since we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, is it I'm assuming, I have a friend, I have several friends that live in California, but that she's told me, she's in Northern California, that and actually she's moving to Atlanta now, but that it's very different. Like I'm in North Carolina now, but I was living in Florida where there isn't COVID because they don't believe in it.
Because
And-
statistically
Yeah.
speaking, you've already been in
La,
contact.
yeah,
and
la,
had it.
la, la, la.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it literally is
science.
like, we're pretending, we're saying it's not a thing. Thank you, Governor DeSantis.
Oh, yeah.
But
Love him.
what's it like in California? Is there
Hey,
still
watch how you
mask
talk about our
mandates?
next president.
Right?
There
Look,
is no mask.
DeSantis.
There's no mask mandate anymore. It's everything's pretty much back to normal here in LA. I still try to wear a mask where I can. At work on set, I have to wear a mask. So film and TV productions are still very strict because it's insurance companies that essentially run things. You know, they're the money managers, and so you cannot risk shutting down because of an infection or a sickness. And so, or God forbid, losing one of your leading, actors or actresses. So they're pretty careful. We test every week now. It used to be a couple times a week, especially during Omicron. And I feel pretty safe. At least I know what, if I get sick, I feel like I would know if I did. And I'm fully vaccinated. I'm around other people who are conscious of their health. I feel pretty safe. I feel like there is it is, and there's a point of diminishing returns of hyper vigilance when it comes to COVID. It's undeniably a bad thing, and there's still people dying from it. And we don't know, if you don't die, what infection actually means long term.
Yeah.
I had long
But at the
COVID when I
same
got
time, it's
infected
just-
in Nashville.
Did you?
It's being socially conscious.
I did.
It's talking about, when you have the flu, you have to be conscious of the people because you're going to spread it. It's the same process. It gets spread the same way. So you just need to be a decent human being. That's all that it comes down to. Be a decent human being.
That's a tall order for Americans. We are such a individualistic society, culture. And it was fascinating going to Japan, where you had seen pictures of people, and now we all know why, but you'd seen pictures of people wearing masks, and I always thought it was like a germophobe thing.
No, they do it if they feel the slight twinge of sickness because they're conscious of people around them.
Exactly. They're keeping other people from catching what they've got, because it'd be horrible to make someone else sick. It's because they have a collectivistic culture. So they're much more concerned about the group than about the individual. We're the opposite. We have all of our individual freedoms and, whatever, for better or for worse. And so it's very hard to dictate or to even teach the kind of respect for others that would help us be healthier.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Shower, wash
That's
your hands.
true. Okay.
Start with the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't touch your face like I've been doing all night. You know what? I touch my face a lot. I touch my face because I unconsciously push up my cheek. This is my bad side. So I find myself pushing this up to kind of balance my face out.
Is it like a twitch? Do you think so? I firm believer everybody has twitches. Mine is my hands. I will tear my fingers apart, which is why I always have my nails done. I will writing everything. So I think it's a twitch. I think everybody has their one thing. Yours, you say you lean on the one side. Mine is constantly twisting my fingers. Erica, what's yours? What's something you compulsively do when you don't realize it?
Well, if I didn't realize it, you mean something
somebody had to have pointed out by now.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Oh.
You twist your hair.
I twist my hair a lot. And it's funny. My boyfriend brought that up the other day because my hair's growing out because I have to go to Iceland and be an elf and do somebody's wedding.
Fun.
Oh my God. I want a +1.
Yes. Yeah, no, I have 2 different elf hair options to decide how I'm doing this. But because it's in Iceland and it's supposed to be very windy this day on a black sand volcanic beach that they want to get married on. And so I was like, I need to grow my hair out for this to pull this off. And the longer my hair gets, the more this happens. And I realize it's because it's hot. Like it's so hot. My
Why do you
boyfriend
think my hair is always up?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is I do this twist thing, and especially as dorky as this is, I see myself in the Zoom and I'm like, oh my God, my hair is like completely out of control. And then I'm like,
I love your hair. It looks amazing.
I tell her all the time, that is not salon, that is natural.
Yeah, this is natural, by the way.
It looks fantastic. I love the
genetics.
color. But you're right.
Dad.
When I was in Japan, I had a few months where I didn't cut my hair. I actually made a video about it. But I found that I was playing with my hair more. And when I grew my beard out, I was doing the beard stroke thing. Just because I love touching. I think touch is my love language. I'm very touchy. I love being touched. I love touching. So
no, see, I don't.
There was a girl in college who used to sit behind us when we'd watch The Simpsons after dinner in the lounge, and she's a friend, but she would like run her fingers through my hair just because I have soft hair, I guess, and she loved doing it, and I loved having her do it. So
hey, no need for ecstasy in those cases. Okay. Quick, shameless self-promotion. What? It's my fucking podcast. I can say shit like that. No, just kidding. Shameless self-promotion time. Travis, talk about your book and how to find it and how to find you. Not in the sense of your apartment address, but online.
Yes, my address is 5962. No.
I had somebody very early on in the beginning of the recording of this podcast literally say that. And
phone number, just launch it all out.
No, don't. You're not telling people where you live. What is wrong with you?
I used to have a P.O. box for people to send me things, and then nobody ever sent me things, and so I got rid of it. But so the book is called Decimus, Decimus, The Vampire's Curse. If you search Amazon for Decimus vampires, you'll find it. My socials, I am the Travis Richey you find if you search for Travis Richey on Google, which is great. My best place to find stuff is my YouTube channel, I think, because I make stuff and there's tons of funny stuff that you can find there. But I guess Instagram is my next most used social because I'm on Facebook. People feel free to follow me on Facebook. I have a rule on social media that I don't say anything that I wouldn't want my mother to read. And I wish more people had that rule, but I'm kind of a clean mouthed. I don't swear a whole lot. I don't get super angry. I don't get super edgy online.
You have a more distinguished mother than I do.
When kids get shot in schools, I get pretty pissed off at the world. But otherwise, I'm fairly low key, mild mannered. Mild mannered reporter Travis Richey. So yes. So Instagram, which is the Travis Richey, because some real estate guy from Arizona got Travis Richey for Instagram.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to get the Travis Richey. Okay.
It sounds more official.
And when do you think, when is your intended publication time for your Inspector time?
I don't know, actually. That depends a lot on Alexi, but the big convention for Doctor Who fans is Gallifrey 1, which happens in February. And so my absolute latest deadline is to have it ready by then.
Very cool. We love it. We love it. Okay, Travis, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
You ladies are delightful.
We'll definitely have
and
to
your
have
puppy.
you again. What?
I was getting mauled by a golden retriever.
Oh yeah. And well, listen, if you have a co-host to the co-host, I don't know what that actually is. Is it like a cocoa host? Like a cocoa host?
Cocoa host. I'll make him a shirt. I'll make him wear it. So we'll talk after.
Okay. I don't even want to know where that's going. So this has been Drinking with Authors. I have been your host, Erica Lance. Our sponsor today has been Skunk Brothers Spirits. My code DWA10 is the coupon code if you use it and get nice liquor.
DWA10?
DWA10. Use the coupon code DWA10. You get 10% off your orders.
Make sure everybody heard it.
Yes, enunciated properly. It's a good thing they put this in all the show notes because words. And my co-host today has been C.R. Rice. Our guest has been Travis Richey, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.